Hi and welcome back to our mini-series where we're going to show you some hints and tips around getting the best out of Microsoft Excel. Many businesses use it and this is your chance to learn some new skills and wow the people around you with some new Excel knowledge. Today I'm going to cover some of the more design aesthetics to pivot tables. So I'm talking about things like slicers that make it easier to slice and dice the data that you already have in your pivot table. So let's jump into what we left the last video at, which is a completed pivot table that's showing us region and technician, total cost, and what services they're delivering. So if I choose the pivot table, we can see on the right hand side our pivot table fields. They're showing us region, technician, service, and total cost. I'm not going to change that, but what I want to do is add some slicers that allow us to filter it on the go. They're a little bit more functional. They're certainly more aesthetic, so let's have a look at that. There's two things we can do. We can either do a slicer or a timeline, and we can find them in two places. The first one is in the Insert tab. We've got Slicer and Timeline under Filters. But also, if we've chosen our pivot table, we've got the Pivot Table Analyze tab, and you can see that they're in here under Insert Slicer and Insert Timeline. So if we choose Insert Slicer, it pops up and it's going to ask us, what are we slicing by? So I'm going to choose region for this example and press OK. And it will drop in a filter box. So let's line that up nicely. Let's make it a little bit longer. You can see that it is an additional box that sits on top. And we can choose a filter that will then filter our pivot table. If we choose this icon, we can have multi-select. So we can be choosing whatever regions we want, or we could have two of these, so we could add another one in for technician, or we can clear that filter. So let's add another one in under the pivot table analyze, and we'll insert another slicer for technician and press OK. Let's just line those two up nicely. So you can see that we can choose multi-select, so I'm gonna, well, let's just choose Khan as an example, and where he's working in the north. So you can see how easy it is now to filter and how much more user-friendly it is than adding the filters to the top of the pivot table. If I clear both of those, and let's add in the other slicer, which is the timeline feature. So if you've got a date anywhere in your data, so I have both due date and required date, we can add in a timeline. So let's go to the pivot table analyze and choose the insert timeline. I'm going to go with due date and press OK. So now we've got this due date filter. Let's just pop it in here and make it look nice. And what we can see here is we get given a range of dates. So we could change that to years, quarters, months, or days. If we choose years, we can then change our timeline to match the range that we want. If we put this back to months, I could say, actually, I want to run this from October 2020 all the way up to October 2021. So it's not a full year because it's not 2020, but it's not 21. But you can see that by doing this, we can change the data in the table. It might be that we just care about 1 month, and by choosing the month, you get a quick change. But you then might want to extend it and say, well, December to April. So you can see how easy we can add in these extra user-friendly features that takes the users away from having to feel like they need to know about the pivot table, but still be able to extract that really great quality data. Thank you for joining us today in our Excel series. Tune in next time where we'll be covering more features, more functions, and more formulas. Thank you.